Greetings, YouTube. This is Mike Cayley 7 coming to you from the back of my 2019 Honda Goldwing 2000 DCT Tour DCT with new brakes, fresh oil, fresh filter. Hooray, hooray, hooray. Oh, you know what I think I just did? I think I just made a big mistake. No, I didn't. I'm good. I thought I forgot my glasses on the seat, but I didn't. They're in my pocket. I did put them away. So, today's topic is learning. So I'm learning this, bass guitar thing, and I'm trying to absorb as much as I can. I'm trying to learn as much as I can, and of course a lot of it comes down to just repetition and practice. It's muscle memory, right? So I'm able to play a bit of the opening riff of a song called Peaches by the Stranglers. So it goes da 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 da. That's as far as I've gotten, and man, that's been rough. Making sure you're putting your finger in the right place, and in this one video, this guy had his finger spread all the hell out. Like, how the hell do you get your finger spread like that? And then this other guy was playing it, and his fingers weren't spreading hardly at all. He was just moving up and down the neck pretty well, and no problem, having a good old time. And so I'm thinking, I'm going to do that second method right now, because I don't want to go. I mean, it was just, my fingers don't stretch like that. I know people say, "Oh, you're over time, you developed the strength." Okay. And the other thing is, I talked to my sister's boyfriend. He's a professional musician for 50 years. Plays lead guitar, used to play bass guitar, sings, studied music theory, graduated from Harvard, for goodness sakes. So the guy knows what he's doing. And he says, when you're starting out, the first thing you want to do is learn how to fret. Just learn how to fret, how to play the notes, make the notes sound good. Once you get that down and you're consistently hitting those notes and making them sound the way you want to and the way they should, then you can start, learning a little bit about the music theory. He says root 3-5. He kept saying root 3-5 over and over again in the conversation. So he says when you're playing a major chord or a minor chord, you do the root 3-5 or the root 3 flat 6 or something. I can't remember all of it, but he was very encouraging, and he said just take your time, and it just takes a lot of repetition, thousands and thousands and thousands of times you're going to repeat these things until they become something you don't even think of. And for some of the major chords, the typical types of chords that he would play, major stuff, then he says he doesn't have to look down. He just knows where his hands just do it. That's great. Sometimes, the more complicated stuff that he's not as practiced on, he's got to look down. But for the most part, for the stuff that he plays all the time, his hands just go there. And even the Stranglers, J.J. Brunel and Baz Warner, they both said, when you're playing live, not only do you not play exactly the same, he says, if you're going to play exactly the same as you recorded it, then why don't you just get up there and put the record on the damn thing? You play it, and it's a little bit different every time, especially some songs are absolutely very different, because you improvise and stuff. and he was playing a song, JJ was, and he said, I realized only recently, this is like this year, like, oh, I could do it this way, I could do it this way. So he's constantly learning new things, constantly learning. And that's what everybody says, you know, you can go lifetimes of practice and playing and learning, and there's always something new to learn. So it's encouraging to know that even the ones who seem like they already know it all, they themselves admit they don't really know everything. And then the other thing is that there's just such a wealth, and instead of looking at it like, well, you know, since I can't learn all of it, I don't want to learn any of it. That's just not right. That's just short-minded, or short-sighted, or whatever. So I'm really hoping that I can continue in this and have it find a place in my life where I carve that space out and utilize it, you know, and grow it. And then as I get older, I can, you know, turn more to that for my artistic and creative expression and enjoyment. There's this thing I was thinking of the other day. You know, I work with younger people in my office. When I first started out at my job, I was the youngest member, and now over time I have now migrated in the timeline to being among the oldest, not the oldest. There are still, I think there's two teachers who are older than me, and one staff member who's older than me in my area. And the rest of them are all pretty much younger than me. Yeah, they're all younger than me. And I remember the ones that I came up under, you know, very often you'd hear them say stuff like, oh, this is so-and-so, she's a teacher here, and I've been teaching longer than she's been alive. And it feels to me like it makes the person who's younger feel belittled. And I think that's the way it kind of was meant in a way, because when the younger people would try to tell the older people about new methods, new materials, new media that they can use in their teaching for English as a second language for academic study, these people are like, no, I'm fine. I don't need to learn that stuff. I don't want to learn that stuff. And now they're retired, and so luckily they don't have to learn this stuff. But because of all the changes now with COVID and everything, and technology, you know, you have to know how to teach online. You have to know how to operate the technology that's required for high flex classes with the camera and the microphone and the students at home and the whole thing. There's a whole, you know, area. It's a whole world of ideas and practices. So anybody who's older who learned how to teach, you know, back in the 80s or the 90s or even earlier, if they say, well, you know, you young people, you're trying to tell me how to teach my class, but I've been teaching since before you were in diapers, or even I was teaching when your daddy was popping pimples in the mirror, and I was teaching when Jesus was a baby. My first student was a Tyrannosaurus Rex, and I had to smack him in the head, and he couldn't hit me back because he didn't have any big arms, so ha-ha on me, or him, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? People who lord it over others, that, you know, I'm older than you, and therefore everything I know makes me superior to you, and everything you know makes you inferior to me. And I think that's wrong-headed and unfortunate. I think it's sad, because there are things that other teachers know at the same age as me, older than me, younger than me. There are things that they know that I don't know that I could benefit from knowing. So whenever someone tells me about something, if I don't already know it, I'm like, well, thank you for that. You have taught me. I am at the feet of the master. Everybody can teach you something. I don't care who they are. The things they know that you don't know. And so I think that if you ever get to a point where you say, you know, I'm not going to listen to you young people because everything you know is more recent than what I know, and therefore it's less valuable, that's just stupid. Because the knowledge that I have in my head of stuff like the Dewey Decimal System, or how to use a program called Lotus to do spreadsheets that I learned in 1989, it's all completely useless. Does anybody need to know how to use WordPerfect back when they had a blue screen, or Bank Street Writer, or how to rewind a cassette tape that's been eaten in your stereo that pissed you off and it never sounded right again? Is that a skill that's worth anything now? No. So a lot of times the skills that you have, the knowledge that you have, becomes outdated and becomes, you know, worthless in a way, because it's no longer used or valued. It'd be like walking around with French francs. I don't know if you know this, but in France they don't use French francs anymore. They use the euro. So if you've got francs, it's kind of useless. I don't even know if you can turn them in now and get an exchange or something. So don't stop learning, and don't discount people who are younger than you and say the knowledge you have because it's new isn't worth anything. That's just stupid. Hey guys, and I'll give you another example. I was asking the Gen Z people, the people who are like 18 to 20 now, and I said, you know, in texting, I heard that if you put a period at the end of your statement while you're texting, that's considered a really bad form. And it's a serious, it's almost like insulting. You can't use that period there. And they said, yeah, that's right. And they showed me the difference, and I could see that there is a semantic distinction if you look at it that from their perspective. And so, okay, good, I'm learning. I know my audience now, and so when I text with my nieces and younger folks like that generation, I will be aware that their generation views it a certain way, and so I have to, you know, take my audience into consideration. That's all. I could be stupid and say, well, dang it, it's the end of a sentence and grammatically you have to put a period. That just makes me look like a jerk, because no one's going to listen to that. I mean, think about this. When cars first came out, all the generations like, oh, these automobiles are terrible. It's the death of society, and horses are better. How many of us have horses now that we, you know, use as a primary mode of transport? Anyway, Mike Haley 7. I'll talk to you later.